Hello everyone, I'm Jalpa Lakhani and today I'm going to present you Web API application with the C Sharp. We will see how we can create the Web API application with some of authentication. So what is the main objective of our this presentation? So first we go through the overview of how can we create the web application, and then then we do some coding part so we can develop the API. But the main part is we can develop the API with the authentication, so no one can use our data. And then we do the testing with the postman of our API, and finally we get the output for our API by the authentication. So the step is first we need to create the web API project. You can see that you can find that option of core web API project under the project tab, and then you can give the any name. Here I give the JWT. You can see that here I give the name JWT authentication token barrier, and then for the coding part here I add the model class controller and authentication services. And then I run my code, and you can see that here I also import some of the class, and then I run my code, and you can realize that for response we need a token. And this by this token no one can use our service without the authorization. And finally you can see that your response. So the next is this is the screenshot of my code. I will show you in Visual Studio. So this is my first app setting. Here I add this app setting. You can see that, and by this one you can generate the token. This is my key. So this token is useful for the another service, so we can get the response. And for getting this response here, you can see that this is the inbuilt, but for the authentication I add this part. So so I can easily get the authentication token with these controllers. And you can see that for this part authentication barrier, you need to import the nugget packaging. So by right click, and you can import the recent version of nugget package. And then you can see that here I also add the app setting class. This is the getter setter class, so you can retrieve and set the data in our class. And this is the other my model class student ID. You see that by providing the student ID, first name, last name, username and password, you can receive your token in your response. You can receive all this detail in your response, but here I provide you all the details and it generates the token, and you can receive the all the detail in your response. And I also need the one authentication service to handle how can we provide the username and password uh, to the class, and what we retrieve from that. You can do this by that class, and this is the authentication controller. So you can see that here I add this authentication controller. So if I enter the invalid any of detail, it will uh, it will cross check with the server, and it give me the response and some of the information or some of the message by that controller. So in short, this controller controls my password and username, and it will give the response based on my username and password. Okay, so the next thing is the startup class. This is the class that handles all the class and connect to each other. And you can see that this is my code. And finally, um, and back to the presentation that I will show you. This all is my class. You can see that this is the app setting class, authentication service class, student class, and this 3R model class, and this is the one controller that I made the change in that, and authentication controller, authentication service that authenticate your data. And this is my startup class, and you can see that this is the postman. So Basically I can say that authentication postman is the one kind of interface that gives us the one platform, so we can test our API, and we can also build the API, and we can change the modify. I will show you in the postman interface how can I change that a lot of option. um, so you can also change the get and post. When I use the get method, it I will I get the data from the server, and for the post I need to provide some of the detail, and by that data and for example I'm posting something to the server, so that's why I use the post method. And you can also see that you can also make the collection in the postman, so you can share easily your API and web services to the other user. um, so this is all thing. And then when I run my application, it opens in the browser, you can see that. um, See, here is this, and you can here I put this browse here I because and right now I have no authentication, so it shows me this. And when I run this in postman, you can see that this is the authentication service, and I provide the username and password, and you can see that here I use the row. You can raw data, so this is the raw format that I provided for this authentication, and here I select the JSON. So you can see this is my response that I give in a student class. So you can see that here the first name, last name, password, and this is the token that we need to use for this authentication to get the weather forecasting data. So here I use this token, and then I provide here, and you can see that here I get the response of weather details. So this is the basic information of authentication. If we use authentication, no one can use our data, so we can use secure API. So authentication is must needed. So back to the slide. Thank you. I hope you enjoy the guys.